Hello, hello, and you're very welcome here to episode 61 of the Football Fanatic podcast. Dan Colt here again, who is hosting for our good friend Declan O'Connor, who unfortunately, like a lot of people around the country, got a fair doing of our latest storm. We wish Deck well. We hear there's a GoFundMe set up from him. He's living out of his car. He hasn't washed in days. Lads, anything you'd like to say to our good friend Deck?
Just wish him
Yeah,
well in his
well,
tough time and hope
yeah,
he
it's
gets out of
tough.
his car soon.
I think get as many baby wipes into him as you can. That's the way to do it. We're all. It's like being at a festival, except you have a whole family to look after. So
Yeah, he might need to get down to a local swimming pool there for the old wash.
And if
yeah,
anyone
yeah,
has lost a roof, it's in Deck's back garden, right?
Yeah,
He,
we,
he,
we
he-
were just we were going through a WhatsApp here. Apparently, there's a roof of someone's house in Spiddle who's in the back of Deck's garden. There's insulation all around the place. I think he moved his car out of the. I think he moved his car out of the driveway to avoid a tree
yeah.
that probably would have hit it.
yeah.
So he's not having a good time with it. But in fairness, Deck as always, he'll plow on through, and we hopefully will have him back next week. I suppose you could say it's no laughing matter, but it is Deck, so we will have it a laugh.
Yeah. You'd usually say, Dan, that he's always an optimistic, positive man, but he's miserable right now. He's miserable. The messages we're getting in, it's pure basically pray for him, send him money, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he's
So
asking for money a lot. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, there's
he's
a
in
lot
our
of
he's
appeals
in
for
our
money.
he's in our thoughts, put it that way.
Yeah, he apparently has set up a GoFundMe called the Deck Effect. So if you'd like to donate to that, you can find it online. We're not going to be posted because we're not 100% sure where that money might be going.
The new rest in his account.
Yeah.
Anyway, another big weekend of football. So we have a lot to get through. We have Spurs, we have Imposter Cogaloo. We're going to be going to Mizzy and Imposter. What is going on with Spurs? We're going to can the Cherries get top four, top five? Can they get Champions League spots? We're going to discuss that. The Gunners, the Great Gunners conspiracy. We're going to be going delving into that with our good Gunner here as well, and we'll be talking all else that happened over the course of the weekend, and also Man City Chelsea. That was a entertaining game, and we've seen some interesting debuts. So we'll get to all that, but we're going to start with Spurs because we had Leicester 7 defeats in a row. Talk was Rude. I know you read that during the week that Rude was going to leave. You just can't basically say I can't do this, lads, and I'm heading off. There was a lot of talk in the week that could be the case, that he was talking about actually just packing it in, but he's gone to Spurs, and of course, only Spurs could give them Leicester a lovely 3 points. But Spurs have 4 points, lads, of their last 10 games. We talked about them now numerous times over the last couple of weeks, but my question is, and it'll remain, is how much longer can this go on? Levy's getting the booze. I think Andrew's getting a lot of booze as well. Son is getting a lot of abuse. It's a toxic place at the moment, Spurs. So, Moss, might go to you first. What do they do here? I know just to talk of like players due to come back, but I think Carragher made a really good point at the weekend that part of the reason why all these players are getting injured is the style of play of Poch or Postecoglou. His record suggests that seems to be the case. That players, he's asking for an awful lot of them, and a couple of other players in particular that came back early from potentially too early from the injuries that sustained and got injured again. So, like, is it how much the blame is at Ange's door? We have the whole thing around the injuries. He's getting a fair whack of it now as well. They haven't signed anyone they realistically probably need to, but where do you sit on Spurs? And we will also, if you want to mention, Ruud van Nistelrooy is a man close to your heart, so you can give him a mention if you want. But I do want your view on Spurs.
Um, it's kind of a funny regime under Ange. He came in and brought this new tactical approach that was very unfamiliar to us, and we loved it because it was so entertaining. And Spurs were top of the league after 10 games and 23 or 26 points or something. And here, after that initial period, there seems to have been a steady after about 10 games where there's enough kind of data for teams to really analyze what you're doing and figure you out. He's There's been nothing but a steady decline. Um, Maybe it's been sped up by the extent of injuries this year, but as you said, that it seems to be like a consequence of his style of football, no more than there was plenty of injuries at Liverpool under Klopp's style of football. And with his underlying numbers continuing to decline, yes, they create chances, but they cannot defend. Like they're ridiculously easy to score against. They're the dream team to play against if you're doing poorly at the bottom end of the table at the minute. So it seems that although he insists that he wants to keep his style, which I respect, I expect most managers to do that. They do usually tactically tweak and adapt game to game to, target weaknesses and in opposition, or to reassure weaknesses in their own against what might be a lethal opposition in certain areas. But he just doesn't seem to do that. And at this level, you once you've been found out and you don't adapt, I'm surprised he's lasted as long as he has, to be honest. It seems inevitable that he's going to go, but the only reason that I can see that he isn't gone is I don't think they know what they're going to do. They just put someone like Mason in place as um, Ryan Mason as a temporary manager again, or
Been there
caretaker manager
before.
for the third time,
Yeah.
like until the end of the season, and then try and get someone like, and where they are, like people like Areola are being linked to it. Like, what if Areola keeps up where he's going Bournemouth? Why would he be going near it? Like, I just,
Mm.
it's an absolute mess. You can see Moyes coming into Everton and just slightly tweaking things, and they're getting 2 wins. It doesn't need, like, there are plenty of quality players there, but I feel like Ange himself has just become grouchier and angrier. He feels like he's becoming like more unhinged in interviews. Everyone else is the problem, and it just seems like a steady decline that can only end in him eventually being sacked. It's just a matter of when, not if.
This is, I suppose, and his response has been, "This is who we are, mate," and that's he's kind of gone.
Yeah,
He's going to die by that mantra, as you said there, Mossy. This is the way we play. Even though, as you said, anyone that's in any way tactically, any sort of tactical nous at all, it seems to be able to come up with a plan to beat Spurs, as Ruud van Nistelrooy and Leicester did. And that was a big win when you look at the shape of the table with Everton's up taking form. So, can is that just a once off? Do you think, Moss, with Leicester, or could
it's
Ruud
hard to know
potentially?
Leicester, like, as you said, it's been kind of linked last week that Rude was being in the conversation that he would leave. Um, and I suppose what I'd read about it was in relation to that he was promised signings,
Yeah.
and to reinforce what he wants to do, particularly defensive signings, because that defense is atrocious. But it was under Cooper, who was quite a defensive manager anyway. So there's serious issues of quality in that defense, and he was under the impression that, well, the article that I was reading in the Athletic was suggesting that he was under the impression that he would be, I was promised reinforcement in January, and that wasn't coming. And being the rude that he is and relentless,
Mm.
he would prefer to leave on his own terms than try and struggle on with them not getting it. So I don't know whether that win changes. I still think it's going to be a serious battle to keep
Yeah.
them up. Um, but to break the bad result run of 7 games is vital. And if you could get a small bit of momentum after it, even just a few solid performances, a few points here and there, keep it tipping along. That's his job. All he needs to do is keep them competitive and try and keep them in that fight and as up as long as possible, and they're in with a shout if they
Yeah.
keep going.
And now we're going. I know again. Your rivals they're floundering, they're fumbling, they're fucking a shambles at the
They're
moment.
doing this. Yeah.
What
Look,
what's your take?
Spursy. Like, I think there's two things. There's the Ange effect, and then there's the actual deep rooted Spurs problem that's always been there. That's you can see the evolution of great managers that have gone there, the Contes, the Mourinhos. You can see when they start to get really agitated near the end of their tenure, and they end up just throwing the towel in or get the boot or whatever. I think there needs to be
Is that a chairman thing though? Is that a chairman
yeah, I
thing?
think it's a cultural thing with the
Yeah.
club. Like, Arsenal were kind of going down that route before Arteta took over as well. They were going into kind of a mediocre atmosphere, and in fairness, he was able to bring it up. And you need someone who comes in who has great ideas to be backed by the chairman, and that doesn't mean signings necessarily, but just doing everything they can to accommodate this manager. If it means putting in certain thing in the changing ground, putting in writing and putting in all this stuff to changing the cameras that they have at the training ground, all that kind of stuff needs, pumping in music before an Anfield game. If you need to do all that stuff to change the culture of the club, let him. But I think Moss has a good point with, like, maybe have teams, found him out,
Mm.
Ange's style. I think he's a very good manager, for attacking style of football. But when we're talking about the elite, I find you can't have a manager who's not going to change certain aspects of his game to hold on to a win, and he just doesn't do that, and you lose momentum, and you lose players, that come with you. Then they start to kind of go against you a bit. I just think overall they've been very, very unlucky with injuries. Like I have no doubt in my mind they would be in the top maybe 8, 9 if they didn't have the significant injuries they have. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily, like, we love, pumping on stuff, saying Ange out or doing this or do that, but like you have to take it the circumstances with it. But the question is, what do they do? Like, what do Tottenham do? They're one of the richest clubs in the world. They spent in the top, maybe I think they're top 2 or 3 in the Premier League spenders over the last 5 or 6 years. They've pumped in the money, but it just seems like where they're pumping in the money, they're tossing and turning. They had the Gareth Bale money that time. They didn't really do much with it. Now they've gone through, like, buy youth, get Archie Gray in, get Bergval in, start growing them up. Great, but, like, who's going to be the manager? The manager who comes in.
And
One
that's
thing,
just, and that's
one,
yeah, go on.
one other thing he said that I thought was interesting the last day, I think, was after the Liverpool game, and he said, "Oh, Archie Gray and Bergval, look, they're brilliant players. I just hope I'm going to be in position to see them grow, like to get the benefits of their future attributes that they're going to have on the pitch." And I think that comment was an interesting comment, because I think he himself thinks that there might be the plug might be pulled out, or the rug might be pulled out from under him coming up, from Levy. And I don't know, guys.
I
What do
also
you think?
think, Howard,
would you
I
get
think
rid
with
of him
that
if you're
comment,
Danny Levy morning? Would you get rid of him?
I don't know if I get rid of him, but I just think with that comment, I think part of that is highlighting the transfer policy was for
Yeah,
the future,
yeah,
not
yeah. Not for
for
him.
the present, and
Yeah,
that he
that's a
is
good
trying to
point.
develop him. I do think that was part of what he was getting at. I think it was made a
That's
point
a
of
good
that.
point, Mossy. Yeah, good point. But what do you think? Would you, if you were Danny Levy now
Uh,
sitting there, and you're not going to sack yourself, but what would you do?
No, I do think, like, that Levy has given money. The problem has been is that they have had a couple of managers, so they're more than the kind of Man United, kind of thing over the last number of years. Is managers coming in, they're bringing in their players with their style, and then it's a new manager coming in, and then you're left with these players who don't fit your style. And I do think he's had an element of that. He has had a couple of transfer windows, and he has spent a bit of money. Like, they bought Solanke, and now he's got goosed a couple of times already in his
Oh, here we
short.
risked for Charleston, 60 million. And,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
And that's
people
not
give out
an
Havertz
Ange, like,
money. Richarlison has been an absolute flop for him. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
and
So
Dembele,
to answer your question, though, I think that
Yeah.
I think getting rid of him now, like, who are they going to get in? Is it going to be a Ryan Mason, a caretaker job? They are still in 2 competitions. In a month's time, if they get a few players back, again, can they stay fit, these players? Like, Van der Ven got an injury last year as well. He was out for a while. He's got 2 now this season. If they get a couple of their defenders back, they look like they're going to be lacking in the forward areas. I think Johnson's out for a few weeks as well. But if he gets a few back, if they manage to beat Liverpool and get to the Carabao Cup final, they are still in the Europa League. But, like, I do think that Levy has never looked like, and has his track record with proving that the long haul, what I mean, to be in it and to grim and to bear it. I'm surprised that he hasn't maybe potentially been gone already, based just on the number of results, how toxic it's going. Maybe it could be that if that game in a couple of weeks at Anfield, if that result gets turned around, he gets knocked out of that, and their league form doesn't improve. I don't think he's far away. I felt that for a while with him. Even as Massa said there, like, I thought he was very likable when he came, but, like, now even in press conferences, he is, like, completely different mannerism.
He's a moody man. Like,
yeah, and it's interesting because he's sitting there saying, I don't feel under pressure, the players, but he looks it. He might, what he's saying one thing, but he looks another one. So that'll be my take anyway. I think give him another month. I do think he needs maybe a small bit of help. I was looking there today. They're talking, they might try and loan in one or two. They're kind of really crying out for a couple of players, though. Really, it's not one isn't going to solve it. They really, you could say with the injuries, should they've already had one or two in besides the goalkeeper that they signed, which like it's a lot more problems than just that. And he'll, of course, will be surplus to requirements when Vicario is back. I don't know whenever he is back, but yeah. So I don't know. I think Moss, you're on the final say there on Levy, or just stick or twist.
I think if it was me and you'd invested in the youth and things are going wrong, I think you'd need to would make the decision to be brave and go, well, we're going to play this style of football, and this man can bring it. And I probably would give him till the end of the season, if I'm honest, if it was me making the decision. But I'm probably not I'm a lot more forgiving than the multi-millionaire that is billionaire probably near this stage that is Levy, and is a lot more decisive in his decisions. And I just, as I said, I feel like it's on the cards. I think it'd be a loss to the Premier League. I do love watching Spurs play from as a neutral because it's
Yeah.
always entertaining,
Mm.
and eventful. But I think inevitably when once it seems very rare in the Premier League
Yeah.
team when
I know.
the tide turns and things just keep spiraling that
That's what I was
anyone's able to
thinking, Moss.
stop it.
That trajectory, started off at a very high trajectory and it's starting to go down. And you've seen it with Ten Hag, the FA Cup saved them. And then he went back in new season and we're back to square one again. It's like we should have got rid of him in the summer. It's hard to turn that tide, but I think until the end of the season, if they pick up a lot of points going up to the summer, they might keep him around.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of nearly just like they're not going to get European positions. It's kind of nearly the eggs are in the don't get relegated basket. It's look, they're 8 points off that, and I don't think we're talking that yet. But if it continues to go, and if likes of Everton and one or two others start picking up a few, that 8 points can be less very very quickly, as we know. So look, time. He might have a bit of time left, but it's looking short. And we might we're going to look at the transfer window, and we might just talk about maybe where Spurs do need strength in a little bit. So we're going to leave Spurs there for now, and we're going to talk about the Mighty Cherries, who done the unthinkable at the weekend. And won 5-0 against a Nottingham Forest side who, nobody could really score against this season. Bournemouth, who we referenced already in the last couple of weeks, have many injuries themselves. Side that they're missing quite a few first team players, their star striker, but yet they went and banged in 5 as Forest. Mossy, explain it to me. We've been waxing lyrical over the last couple of weeks up Bournemouth. That's 12 now unbeaten, and the question I have for you is could they get that top 5, the Champions League spots? Are they a contender?
I think they have to be a contender when you're looking at talk about injury lists. They have a serious part of their squad out injured. They don't have any fit strikers. Utara, who got the hat trick there the weekend, has played right back, right wing, and striker this year. Do you know what I mean? As in, to have that flexibility and to be coached so well that they're at a position that they can transition from all those positions and know their role is super impressive. Like Ariola's done such an amazing job. He had a rough start, but since that, it's just we're talking about trajectory with Banj. Ariola's started low and it's just consistently improved. He did a great job in Spain with Ray Valladolid. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, but in Madrid, in Spain, he himself was coached by Bielsa, and you can see that element of chaos that he enjoys. It's organized chaos. It's because the way they press is so aggressive. Now they were helped in that Nottingham Forest were way off it in this game. They were definitely a fault first goal, and after that, Bournemouth just pounced on them repeatedly. And as impressive as they have been at the back today, it was just it was a capitulation really from a team that had been performing so well. But
Yeah,
when you the quality the likes of Cliver looks phenomenal. He's just turning into he's started to show signs of improvement, but the clinical finishes and Semenyo is so impressive. I think for Bournemouth, if they were to get top 5, it would be saving grace from them, because I think otherwise they're going to get picked apart.
Kirk has as well a left back.
Kirkes,
Yeah.
the Huyson at centre half is only 19. They're unbeaten since he got started, and he's only in there because Sensi was injured and stuff
Injured,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, so they're just so impressive. But it was the really Nottingham Forest were way off for this game.
Yeah, I'm a bit concerned because Liverpool have to go there this weekend, and we will talk about the matches coming up this weekend. But Howard, the question I was asking Mossy there was, Bournemouth, They're unbeaten in 12 games. They have a lot of injuries themselves. Missing their star striker, but can they get top five? Could they get a Champions League spot? Are they contention?
Look, I don't think they'll get a Champions League spot. I just I don't think Forest will get a spot. Like we always see these spurts in teams at certain stages in the season. So I think they'll probably just fall short in general. But that doesn't mean that, like, if they finish 6th and 7th, that's still a fantastic season for them. Yeah, even if they're in Europe in some sense. Like, could you imagine them in Champions League next year? That would be a bit mental. Like, Barcelona coming to Bournemouth, like, in a home game. Like, it would be class to see. But just on, like, the Clivert thing, like, we all remember his lad back in the day when we were growing up. He was like one of the star strikers in Europe. Like,
it was decent. Yeah.
And it's actually nice to see. You don't really see okay, you might have Liam Delap or whatever. You don't really see that many sons of great.
From Cliver to Delap, I like it.
Cliver to Delap, yeah. Well, I suppose Rory Delap isn't into the show home. But you know what I mean? It's cool to see that kind of talent, just like genetic talent coming to the fore. And what I love about him is he finds these spaces outside the box, and he doesn't, like, it's not like a worldy goal that he scores, but it's just precision. He doesn't hit that hard, hits it firm enough, and it's just a clinical finish. And he has it in his locker. And I think if he keeps going this season, he'll be snapped up as well. But they're all around. They're very balanced. That guy center half, as you mentioned, it's surprising. You look at Forest as well; they've had a great season. It's surprising what two good ball playing center halves at the back, where it'll get you. It'll get you really far in the league, like, And a lot of teams now, they focus on their defense first when they're in the transfer windows and that. And it shows, and they're proving that point, I suppose.
It'd be interesting to see. Like I know you got to mention about Forest. Do you expect that we might, when you go back to the so-called top 6? Are you kind of saying Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Newcastle then for top 5?
Yeah. I think
you don't think Forest will get one either. No,
I don't think so. I think they're a great outfit as well, but it's very hard to keep it going for the whole season. And I think, like, when you look at Chelsea and you look at Newcastle, I think obviously their squads, their depth, I think they just have a bit more. Like, you have Isak up front, it's just an absolute machine again there at the weekend. Like, he's it's just too much, I think, to ask for, like, the likes of Chris Wood versus Isak. You know what I mean? Chris Wood's had a fantastic season, but, like, you're looking at the talent and looking at the goal scoring prowess. You just look at Isak there, like, banging a goal. So I just can't see it. And then you look at Chelsea, like, they have just like 5 players in their position, so it's like.
Yeah, I don't disagree about the depth. But what I would say though is the season that it is, and we're going to get on to Chelsea now in a second. Like Chelsea are on a bad run of it. You could argue, and we get on to them later around. Is Maresca starting to get found out? Are they a bit more reliant that Palmer doesn't do it? Have they got that much depth? The players they're bringing on in Kunku as this season, they're not influencing or making any sort of impact on the game.
There's no more.
One side, but like you had Bournemouth that went to Newcastle there. And hockeyed them, 2 weeks ago. So I just don't know if I agree with that. The likes of Forest, fair enough, that was a bad result for Forest, but you have to give them their credit in the bank this season. The season that it is, City now, again, we don't know where we're at with them at all. Could it just be one of them seasons where we could see a bit of a shake-up, where one of them two, I'm not saying that both, but one of them could sneak into the place? Because I'm not sure about Chelsea, their consistency. They've gone off the boil. And Newcastle, again, as much as they are a good side, are they that much better? I know they've Isak, but are they that much better as a team than Bournemouth and Forest? I'd argue that they're nearly similar enough level from what I've seen so far this season. But go on.
I was going to say, it's hard to know, like, excuse me. I think a lot of the time it's form plays a massive part in runs that clubs do over the season. And obviously we look at Forest there. They've had an unbelievable run of games, like winning, I don't know how many they won in a row, 5 or 6, and they've been put up there. But you could just see now a 5-0 loss to Bournemouth. Not saying that other top teams can't lose that to Bournemouth, but I just think you'll see cracks and you'll see form dipping and confidence dipping. And I think when confidence dips like that, you rely on the talent that you have overall in your squad. And I think over the whole portion of the season, that's what kind of gets you to your final position rather than, oh, they've had a great run of games for 6 or 7 games. Look at them, and they're playing brilliant. Can they get top 4, top 5? I just think now, there's no person in the world that would rather see Bournemouth finish ahead of Chelsea in the world than me. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to see Chelsea down as far as they can go. So I'd love you're right, but I just think with all the money that is spent and with all the depth that they have, it'll be very difficult, I think, for them or Newcastle not to be up there near the end of the season.
Moss, just quickly, if you want to just on that, on kind of just your, would you say that it'll be kind of the status quo Champions League, or do you think one of them two could sneak a spot?
This, to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily agree that they'll. I feel like Forest have this. They have this kind of game against City out of nowhere. City were in a bad run and they bet Forest 3-0, and then kind of was like, oh, this is the end of them. And they responded and went on another good run. So I feel like they can take it on the chin. It was a bad day. They were at fault from them, and based on their form, they should be able to draw on the confidence that overall during the season they've performed to quite a high standard. And that they should, like, they're never going to get a better opportunity, and there's no pressure or expectation on them. I would be surprised if they were to completely fall off. Bournemouth, I would be more like, they're on such an excellent run. It's just if that ends, sometimes teams come to an end of a run like that and it ends, and they kind of can spiral for 3 or 4 games. And with the chase that they have, they can't afford it. I would love Bournemouth to be in it. I think their football they're playing is top quality. But I still would fancy Forest to still, one of them anyway, to be in it. And Newcastle, they're just after a good run. They're all very similar level, but if out of the most dynamic and adaptable out of those teams, 3 teams are Bournemouth, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. And we're going to go on to 2 other teams that are going to be in that race for the spots. It was Chelsea and Man City. So I just referenced it there. Chelsea is it 1 win now in their last 7 in the league? You know, we were on here a few weeks ago, not that long ago anyway, talking about title contenders, where they Liverpool's biggest contenders for the title, and they've kind of suddenly kind of fallen off a bit of a cliff. So my question kind of is it Palmer or bust? It seems that if Cole doesn't seem to do the business, their players, looking at some of their 4 players that they spent a lot of money on, looking at Neto, Nkunku, and we look at their numbers this season. Fair enough, I know there's a bit of rotation, they're not always starting, but you know, Madueke seems to be the only other one really, and Jackson has kind of gone off the boil in recent weeks. So they are kind of looking for like Sancho, Neto, players like that to kind of step up, and even in midfield, for when you have, you know, the guts of $250 million in your midfield, Enzo and Caicedo, there's not many goals coming from there either. So I suppose my question, and we might just focus on Chelsea firstly. You know, that looked to me like a game that they could have won. They could have been 2 or 3 up in that opening 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden, once City got a foothold into the game, it only looked like there was one team really that were going to win that. I think on Saturday, you know, they're definitely on more of a blip. I think it's more of a blip, you know, than we can say a blip after a game or two. But this is kind of going on a while for them, where they're not been able to get over the line and pick up results. So Howard, I might go to you. You love Chelsea, so we might go to you first there. But you know, they have spent a lot of money, as a reference there, a lot of money spent. But what's going on? I know they've a few players that are injured at the back. They get Chalobah back as well. Their goalkeeper as well, I meant to reference, is just a complete. We've talked about him several times this season. I think Neville referred to him like Lawrence Karius at Liverpool had. Like, you're not going to win a league title or go close to it with the likes of him in goals. But anyway, tell me what's your thoughts on Chelsea? Would it be fair to say that there's too much of a reliance on Palmer?
I think there's 2 key players that it's funny, they're such a large squad, but it's like even if you have a large squad, you need the players that come in are going to be in a similar quality. I think the 2 players that are missing massively is Caldwell or Fofana and Lavia. I think Lavia is a class player. Like, the problem with him is he can't stay fit. But when he's in midfield with Caicedo, that was the period where they were just destroying teams. Yeah. And I think when they're missing them 2, and then you're missing one of your best centre halves as well, it falls off a cliff to a point. And you'd imagine with all the money they spent, you could put someone in there. And now they're at the point where they had your man Dizazi, bring him in. Now he's a train wreck. I think, look, I don't know, between ourselves, we all knew. I could tell from his first game at Chelsea, like, he turns like a massive HGV truck. Like, he can't move his feet at all. Like, so he's like, there's talk from going to Aston Villa now on loan, with a dry loan until the end of the season, which would be an interesting one. But I just feel they have too many weaknesses with your keeper. Let's say not a good no center half, and then missing the likes of Lavia in midfield. I think that's a big loss sort of. And they're all saying, "Oh, Sancho's having a great season." He's not really having a great season. He's doing better than what it did in United, but like he's not assisting and scoring a lot of goals. And same with Neto as well.
No,
Like
Slightly better than
Neto,
shit is still shit. Like,
yeah, Neto exactly.
I,
Neto,
I do think though Sancho when he plays, like he does. Like, I suppose again, you're going to make the argument that what they were playing on the left was Mudryk, and there wouldn't take much to be a step up on him. But I do think that Sancho has looked. I suppose he's looked better than he did at United. He's not at the level he was when he was at Dortmund. I don't think, but
no.
but I don't think he's the
is he
answer
not
either.
though? Is he not, Dan? Like,
Huh?
is he just that he's playing the same level he played at Dortmund in a much more competitive league?
And he's just not that good. Yeah, I think you're right, Ross. I never
Interesting,
really
yeah.
rated him massively highly, to be honest.
He's a very skillful player, but he doesn't really have pace, and doesn't really
He
have work
definitely doesn't
ethic.
have pace now.
So like, they're not exactly the
You're not
attributes
taking
you
him back
want.
so much, no.
I give me 70 million for him, please. No.
You want him to be playing away,
uh,
boss. Yeah, you want it. The more
yeah,
he plays,
Can we,
the more kind of I
yeah,
get for him.
can we mention the Garnacho thing as well? Like like
We
Chelsea
we we
going
we
in.
we're gonna go. We'll do
Okay,
transfer.
sorry, we'll talk about that
Yeah,
in a
we will
bit.
do that.
I think, look, I think that whole thing of them buying, and I don't know how many wingers in the team, like it's just insanity, like, you know what I mean? And look, yeah, the last thing I say is just on Sanchez as well. Like, where was he going for that ball over the top? And like when you're going, like, and you're not going to get it, get back in the goal, like this thing about going and then like, oh,
Just
what am I
standing
gonna
there.
do? Like just standing there, like it's just madness. Like I saw like the stat, like it was like 0.05 expected goal for like when the ball is played over top, and then like 0.5 expected goal when he's like out there. Like it's just,
What did you make
you
of the
know,
game overall? What was your
I
thoughts of the
thought
game?
it was. I thought it was an all right game. Like City are like starting to find their feet a bit. It felt like it was a game there for the taking for Chelsea, if
Mm.
they actually believed in getting it. But I think with their recent form, they just capitulated. You know what I mean? I think they missed a trick. I think their confidence isn't as high as it was earlier on the season because of the players that are missing, and you can really see it now in them. So I think it was you probably touched it as well, Dan. It was there for the taking, especially in the first half, and
Yeah,
then City
I
just
felt
grew
so.
into the game. City just grew into the game, and obviously
Yeah,
Haaland then is getting picking away the goals.
and I do think that as much as I know the start of the season that Jackson had a good start of the season, I still put him in the same category as I'm going to put the likes of Havertz. If you take the likes of Isak, and if he was at a Chelsea or at an Arsenal, I'd be saying, Arsenal if they had an Isak this year would win the title. And likewise,
Yeah,
I think the Chelsea would be, not far off it if they had the likes of him. I think that, it's a key component that they're missing for all the money that Chelsea has spent. And as decent as Jackson is, but like, they had a player that came on there on Kunku who had ridiculous numbers in Germany, and just for whatever reason, it just has never got going. They're looking to try and offload him now, like, but I do feel that that if Palmer's not going to get the goals, they need more coming from the front area of the pitch, and at the moment it's lacking severely. Moss, we had our new introductions that we've talked about in our WhatsApp, and Declan was very excited to see. We had Abby Kush and Marmouche. So you can take your pick who you want to start with there. But what did you make of the City debuts and the game as a whole?
Well, Kushanoff, or if that's how you say it, Abby Kush, as we were calling him in the group. Um, I text Deck. I said it in the group, like he's not ready for first team football. He wasn't like he's come from the Belarusian league to the French league, and French league to, or was it? Sorry, was it Italian or French league he came from?
he came
It's
from the
French,
French league.
yeah,
French.
French. Um, and that like there was I listened to a French
Lawns.
like Lons expert, French league expert, whatever going on about that he had lots of potential, but would not be ready for the step up to Man City, and within a couple of minutes, he was shooting himself in the foot, like, and he looked so sad. Like his eyes looked like someone come and save me, mommy and daddy. Like he just looked so sad about the whole
No,
situation.
no English. You
No
see like
English,
a
didn't
lad
know
that
what was
just
going
got in.
on.
The lad just
Um,
talked out for 90 minutes though, wasn't it? It was just the look. We just brought him in
and it was a
here, fill up
very
with the gas.
unusual Pep move to put
Yeah.
him in straight away without like his usual indoctrination. But look, I remember watching Patrice Evra against Man City in the first game for United, and Vidic was something similar, and they were absolutely atrocious. And I was like, what are we after doing? And they turned into absolute legends at the club. So look, I wouldn't judge him on one side. Just I did think it was a bit of a jump, but Marmoush looked like a good addition. Looked like he can add and play off Haaland. If if he was a bit better time in his runs, he would have got his debut goal. He looked like a excellent addition with legs and pace and movement up front for City. So look, we'll wait and see on him. He's a young central defender, but literally they had no other central defender, and John Stones is made of glass. So they needed someone to come on and play. So
Howard, you're muted there. Don't know, were you trying to come in?
Sorry, yeah, I was just saying, like, you for 75 million, you expect to get some sort of class for that. Like, you know what I mean? It's a serious ball of money to spend on a guy. He looks very good.
Relax there, Pepe. Relax there now.
He looks very. But like, just you said, Stones made a glass body. I just like, it comes back to this Pep thing. Why is he putting these people on the bench if he's not going to play them? Like, it's just, I find it so weird. Like, if he's not fit, why are you having him on the bench? Is it kind of just to have him on the bench?
Him on. Stones did come on, like, but
yeah, like, so if he did come on, why not start? Like, I don't understand, like, playing a guy you can't speak any English just off the plane, his first Premier League game against, but you know what I mean, against Chelsea. Like, would you not play Stones, start Stones, maybe take him off, or it just seems, I don't know. I just thought that was a bit of
that's fair
a
point.
weird decision for him to pick, and obviously I actually like him as a player. I saw him in the game, and Arsenal played him in the Champions League. Lons he was playing centre half, and he's a bit like Martinez, small bit. He's quite short but very strong in the tackle, like, and that's the only thing I say about him. His height might let him down a tiny bit. You saw the header that he missed against Jackson, and then he went to try and head it like that. That probably showed maybe a little flaw he has, but like, you can always push him out maybe to a right back or left back if needed in the future. But yeah, I like him as a player. He's a hard hitting centre half. So we'll see. Watch this space for Abby Kush anyway.
Yeah, and I suppose we will talk just at the weekend games coming up this again because City play Arsenal. We'll get on to that. So let me see where we're going to go next. We're going to go to the Gunners conspiracy. So this is the biggest conspiracy since the moon landing. So what I'm hearing is
9/11 as well, 9/11 and other ones, anti-vax, flat Earth.
You can have whatever one you want, Howard. But
add Michael Oliver to that. Add Michael Oliver to that. So, like, yeah.
So you were not a happy bunny at the weekend in the WhatsApp in relation to the decision. So I'll give you your say there firstly on what you thought of the decision by Michael Oliver, and then we might get into then in a more serious context into the aftermath. But talk to me, Michael Oliver. He's the best ref in the country.
Look, I was watching it live. I was in the pub with one of the lads watching it, and on Premier Sports. And to be honest, lads, I was just dumbfounded. I was like, oh, like, is this real? Like, is this actually? I like, there was a level of, I'm not surprised, but a level of, oh, this just proves how mad, like how crazy or how bad referee decisions have been against Arsenal recently. And I think it comes down to the fact that it's very
just
simple,
Arsenal.
right?
Just Arsenal.
Well, it's very simple, like,
What about Wolves?
Yeah, Wolves as well. I'm not against that. Like, Wolves have had probably the worst decisions against them the last 2 years. I don't disagree with that. I just find with Oliver and with a lot of the refereeing decisions that's happened recently against Arsenal, it's almost like they're looking for it rather than them it's standing out for them for a red card. Like, I think the basic thing there, lads, is every time there's a counter like that and there's a foul like that, like, every time everyone watches on telly, everyone sees, like, everyone knows yellow card. It's a yellow card. For some reason, Michael Oliver decides to like you want to keep the players on the pitch unless you see something clear and obvious that's going to, like, a leg breaker or something like that. That's a clear red card. Like, it's so easy to give a yellow card for that decision. So easy. Like, and it's almost like, well, look, City's up next, Newcastle in the cup. Well, maybe Mike Oliver is thinking in his head, give a guy an 18-year-old a 3-match ban here, won't be able to play against them. For me, it's a lot harder to make that decision as a red card than to give a yellow card. Like, I just think, like, I'm not going to say like corruption, but there's definitely a biasness there from Oliver when we ref. Like you saw the City game last year in the Emirates. You saw Kovacic's two ankle ankle tackles on Odegaard and Rice, and both of them were worse than what Lewis Kelly did. Lewis Kelly did. So like, and he gave one yellow card to Kovacic, and then he gave nothing for the next one. Like that's just like you can't compare that and then give this guy a red card. And then you look in the same game, in the Wolves game, the second yellow for Gomez, that's a red card. If that like that's a way worse leg breaker than Lewis Kelly's one. Like it's just I find it very difficult to like all we look for is consistency. Like I don't mind if people are getting red cards for that all across the league, grand. But looking for sending off an 18-year-old lad for doing that, I just think it's just I just couldn't get my head around it. And the only thing I could get my head around is like he obviously would prefer Arsenal not to have 11 men on the pitch. He would easier give a red card to them than he would to other teams. And I think that's like his stats prove it. Like he's given in 60 games, he's given 8 red cards to Arsenal players in the Arsenal games he's refed. He's given 1 to Liverpool. He's given 0 to City in all 60 games. He's given the most penalties against Arsenal in all the Premier League in all the Premier League teams in the Premier League, and he's given the least penalties to them. So like all the stats add up. There's something like why is he doing all this?
I don't think 13% of his games giving Arsenal red cards is like a massive conspiracy.
Well, 8 versus 0, I suppose.
Yeah, but like I suppose I think you should be more annoyed with VAR, to be honest, because there was a slight element of studs. There was a slight element of studs that maybe you could possibly argue, all right, maybe he did think it was dangerous. But like it was a clear and obvious error that VAR should intervene.
But there's studs in the Gomez one as well, Moss, and he gives a second yellow.
Well, the Gomez one was a straight red, and that was not debating that at all. But I think VAR should have been like, you need to come look this because it should have been a yellow. It should have been downgraded.
And I completely agree. That's another problem. Like, why are they afraid to say it to Michael Oliver? And I'd say if it was a younger referee, the VAR would have intervened saying, come over, look at it. But I think Michael Oliver has this kind of, he's the best ref in the league. Everything he says is fucking gold. I think there is a level of that, and maybe Darren England and VAR didn't want to go against them. You know what I mean? I think, and that kind of goes with the problem with the PGML in the grand scheme of things is the lads in there. And you listen to Mike Dean. We talked about this all somewhere like my mate Anto and all. Like they're all in cahoots. They're not professional enough to be doing their job. Like they're not. Like that's my gut feeling, and that feeds into the what's the point having VAR if they're not going to overturn a decision like that? Like VAR should be separate, like to the PGML. Like there should be a separate entity. That's what I think. Have the people up there doing a complete separate role, and they can make a call on it whether the referees do or don't. But the refs are like the standard is going worse and worse every week. Like it's
particularly against Arsenal, isn't it?
Well, like Bossy, I don't mean it bad, but like if you support Arsenal, you saw the decisions there's so many that
I can understand
there's so many that you can say, oh, by the letter of the law, they could give this. They can use the letter of the law for whatever they want. Oh, there were studs. They can use it. No problem. They use it all the time. They're going to spin it like that all the time.
But based on how disorganized the PGML is, I can't imagine that they have enough coordination to decide to have a conspiracy against Arsenal.
No, it's not. When I say it's not a conspiracy against Arsenal, it's basically a biased. They don't like I said before. They're not mad on Arteta since that Newcastle game. Basically, since the Newcastle game that time, where Arsenal rode in and complained to them. Since then, that the lads in there don't really have much affinity for Arsenal or Arteta. So it's easier to make controversial 50-50 calls against them than it is for them. And I think that's just it. I'm not saying it's corruption, money is being passed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying since then.
Good, because you don't want to lie slander. So.
Well, it is an issue. I'm not like this season. I'm not going to sit here and say every decision made is being fair. And I think it just hasn't been. Like it's been like you can make an argument for every red card that Arsenal be given. You can make an argument for it, 100%. But like
On the
you can
plus
make
on the plus
you can
note,
make an
Howard,
argument for like that tackle that Miles Lewis Skelly, like that happens in every game. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
but in the plus
Okay. So
note, Howard, you
okay.
responded well, and in spite of the other games where you didn't get the win,
And I'm
you
happy,
you
yeah, I'm
dragged it
happy
out
we
in
won
this
the
one.
game. Like, I'm happy we won the game. I hate, talk about refs all the time and all the time, blah blah. But I'm delighted to win the game, and it's easier to listen to me complain about it now that we won the game. But I would be saying the
Yeah, it's
exact
kind
same
of a pity
thing.
though. Kind of a pity. Yeah, would have been better
But
cracked if we were cracked to watch it if you hadn't won the game.
well, right, let's
And
get your view on
Havertz
it.
did try his best to make sure you didn't win the game. Like,
Like Havertz gets a lot of guff, but like he scored more goals than Neto, Jackson, and fucking Sancho, and all these people.
he probably could
Uh,
have scored more than them in with his head in
Yeah,
this
but
game alone.
he gets into the position. Like Havertz scored 15 goals this season. Like that's not to be sniffed at this part of the season already. Like he scored more goals than Luis Diaz this season. So we're saying he gets a lot of stick and a lot of, I think, because he misses these chances, but he gets into position to score them. But look, I just on the referee decision, like what was your opinion when you saw it? Like
Yeah, so when I seen it, and that's what I wanted to say. So when I seen it in live speed, live time, and when they then slowed it down, I couldn't for the life of me understand how it was a red. I thought it was definitely a yellow card. I don't with Moss. It should definitely have gone to VAR. There's things more minimal things that have gone for a VAR look. So
Yeah.
and he definitely should have been sent to the monitor. And I think he would have changed his mind. We don't know yet until we get the conversation that will come out, and whether it be this evening or the next day or two, as to what was said between was it Darren England and Oliver. There's no doubt in that incident. I definitely think that Arsenal were hard done by. I wouldn't win many of the red cards this season. I don't think that there could be much complaint, but I do think that Arsenal fans will complain. But what I actually will put it down to is that I do think that for me, and it has been the case for quite a while with Arsenal, is that I think Arteta more times than not pours petrol on an already quite a fiery
I agree with that.
flame. So I do think that
I
do think he is part of the problem, and
yeah,
again,
I think look,
he's not responsible for what. But just one second, he's not responsible for. Yeah, one second, because he's not responsible for what Arsenal fans say on social media, or the other side of it is what's happened to Michael Oliver since this game, and it's not just a Michael Oliver problem. It's in general with social media. That side of it, I don't think is right for anyone. And I don't think anyone could sit there and say, well, that's all right that his family and everyone's getting death threats like that. That side of it, and in particular this season, and most fans would suggest it. For whatever's going on, like you'd swear that Arsenal were 15, 20 points off at the way they're going on this season. Like they are still well in contention, but the way they're kind of going on, it's mind-boggling as to is this an Arteta fueled thing that's gone on from last season that's kind of come into this season? The world is against us, conspiracy theories, all this kind of stuff. You kind of said it's not a conspiracy, but you said it's biased. But pretty much,
yeah.
From what you're saying, there's not much in between, though, is there really? It's kind of like biased conspiracy. You can use a different word, but you do feel that Arsenal are being poorly treated, and there is some sort of an agenda. That's what you think, though.
I 100% think that.
Yeah.
I 100% think that, and but whether it's agenda, but I think, as you said, the agenda could be fueled by
I do think so.
by the Arteta thing, and I completely agree with that. Arsenal do take their time with corners and throw-ins and the dark arts and all that, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that the referee should be doing their job. They shouldn't be influenced by
I'm talking more with the fans and the refs,
the team annoying them. But that, I don't care. If you're a ref and you get stick from opposition fans for making a bad decision, it doesn't mean you go out the next day and give a red card to the other team. You shouldn't. If that's the way they're thinking, then they're in the wrong job. You know what I mean? That's not the way.
Howard, you're ignoring human nature there.
I know,
they're still human beings, and if you're getting shit all the time and death threats,
yeah, well, we're talking about death threats. I don't know, what death. He said he got abuse. He doesn't even have any social media handles online, Michael Oliver. I don't know where this abuse. It's just loads of people abusing him online, but not sending him messages directly or anything. But look,
public forum threatening your family is still a threat.
Well,
just because they don't send it directly to you,
But look, lads, this happens. Like, you have 12-year-olds on Twitter saying stuff like this happens in every club, in every game. You know what I mean? You're gonna have, like, sure, your
Yeah,
man,
but it shouldn't be tolerated in anywhere.
the
At the
Havertz
end
thing.
of the day,
No,
it's a game. Like,
I'm not saying it should be tolerated. It's terrible to do, but like if it sounds so bad, but if they weren't so bad at their job, like, it might negate all that abuse.
Yeah, look, we're gonna have to move on. What I would say is for a side that actually went on and won that game, I'm just a small bit surprised as to the amount of Arsenal fans, whether it be conspiracy or whatever like that, that have been circulating on the
It's a
net.
build up, Dan. It's a build up, though. It's not just one decision. It's a build up of a lot of other things. Like, you know what I mean? It's the Martinelli thing, getting 2 yellow cards for Oliver in one action that time in Molyneux. It's the
Yeah.
Kovacic thing. It's a build up. It's not just like if this happened one off
You're
thing.
talking about it's a build up on Oliver. That's what you're saying. It's
Yeah,
a build
a
up on
build
Michael
up
Oliver.
of Oliver decisions, and like when you're comparing that tackle to so many other tackles that haven't been red cards that Oliver gave, it's just a build up like that. That's why people are so infuriated online about it. And like, if this is a one off thing, it wouldn't be the backlash wouldn't be as bad. Like,
Okay, Moss, do you want to have the final word?
Oliver's the best ref in the league, isn't he?
Right, we're gonna have to keep moving because I know Howard, you'd love to talk more about the refs, but I'm sure this won't be the last time that we'll
it
be
won't be the
revisiting
last
this.
time, lads.
No, it
Hopefully,
won't.
we'll get a good decision first. Now coming up soon.
So we'll just go through this quickly again. Everton, another big win. Brighton are kind of a bit like that when you just give results where you might expect them to win, that they don't get over the line. But a great win for Everton and the Moyes effect. Newcastle back to winning ways. Isak again, just phenomenal. His finishes. I don't know if you've seen. He seems to be, if he gives him any sort of a chance at all, he's putting it
First
home.
touch.
Villa again with a Champions League game seem to be just not able to get the consistency going. And we had Brentford with a win away at Palace. And yeah, I was excited about. I always get excited about the Monday night football or the Sunday late games. We don't get them too often, but it's always nice on a Sunday. But it's one that I, from a neutral point of view, watching it, I think it was the lowest, as you're an XG man, Mossy. It was the lowest XG in a game in the last 2 years or something. I think I read it there this morning. It wasn't a game to get you in the edge of your seat. But you want to have a word there, a quick word, Moss, and United getting 3 points. I suppose it doesn't really matter. You come out with 3 points.
Look, it was awful. It was a pathetically poor game, which has basically become a bit more of a norm at this stage. And thank God we were playing Fulham, where we always seem to get a bit of luck. And that's exactly what it was. Martinez' deflected shot went in, and an unbelievable clearance off the line by Toby Collier got us over the line in the end. And I suppose it's just a tale, really, of particularly our forward line. Rasmus Højlund is just not performing in any capacity. Lack of service to a certain degree, but when you've been at a club nearly 2 years and the quote is still a lot of it is, oh, he has so much potential, and
Good
you're not
movement.
really realizing any of that.
Yeah.
It's worrying, and our lack of potency up front is a real issue. And I'm hoping the sign that if we are going to have a quick talk in transfers, that Garnacho is starting, maybe is
Yeah,
if you were, if there was an imminent transfer, you would expect him to not be in the starting 11.
yeah.
How's
And this
Euro
is
getting on? How's Lenny Euro getting on, Moss? Is he doing all
Lenny
right?
Yoro, yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing okay. Yeah, I think next year maybe we'll start to see full extent of him, but he's been doing pretty consistently all right. Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah,
It looks good.
I was going to use the United game as kind of a segue into the transfer window, because even though United got the win, the most talked about thing this morning when I woke up was Amarin's comment about Rashford in the media, not the result or anything like that. It was all about Rashford and what he said. So I suppose, Moss, will stick with you that just around Man United, we a few days before the window closes, there's talk of them looking at I think a left back in France potentially. But Garnacho, you mentioned him there, talk of Chelsea. I think Napoli had reopened talks with him as well. It still sounds as if there's potential that he's going to leave Garnacho. Rashford, you mentioned last week, you don't expect him to go anywhere, but there's still, his name seems to be day in, day out, centred around the Man United storm. The comments by Ruben, again, I think maybe small bit tongue in cheek, but he knew it was going to make a headline, and it most certainly has. So where do we just stand, I suppose, transfer wise for United a couple of days ago? Like, if they do manage to sell Garnacho with FFP and all that, Are they in a position where they won't be able to bring anyone else in? Is it just kind of he'll go and it'll be the summer before they'll be able to replace him, or what? What's your feeling quickly there on Man United, Rashford, and maybe the comments, and can they get him off the books between now and the end of the January? Because it seems if he stays there, it's going to cause a problem for the next couple of months, even though it sounds as if Ruben has no intention of playing him.
Yeah. Look, Garnacho is kind of a begrudging sale. Like, I wouldn't be delighted about it. I could be one to come back to bite you, but I can see the logic in it, in that he doesn't naturally, he's more of a natural winger and doesn't really fit into that 10 as well. But he's only 20, like, you would expect that he would be able to adapt it, but because it's pure profit, it gives him a lot more wriggle room in terms of PSR and stuff. So Garnacho could happen. It's if anything sale is to happen, it seems the most likely.
Do you want to
Casemiro,
sell him to Chelsea though? Sorry, just on him. Like, it's madness to sell him to Chelsea though. Do you not think?
I think as much, yeah, it probably is in terms of a rival,
Yeah.
but who do you like for him? Napoli is a very unusual career step at this time. Considering how volatile Conte is, he could be gone by the end of it. Could have a great win the league by the end of the season, yes, but he could be gone the following season. And he isn't a natural fit for the Scalia that they're after selling to PSG either. So I think personally, I think Garnacho would prefer to stay in England and go to Chelsea. So I think that's given Chelsea a bit more hope. Rashford, the situation is just it's just another Sancho. He's not going to play. Amrin doesn't want to play. Basically, if I was Rashford, I don't think I would play after the comments that he's made. Basically, a stinging indictment of your professionalism, and he's not the first manager to have these issues with him. So it seems to be a lingering issue with him and how he carries himself. And in terms of incomings, we need something as a left. We need a left-footed player on the left wing, a left wing back, massively. If we sell Garnacho, we won't have any other replacement. I can't imagine us buying anyone financially. But we definitely need a left-footed wing back. It'd make a massive difference to have that option.
Okay. And Howard, do you expect Arsenal that we talked last week about the mean forward player before the windows closed? We're a few days out. There doesn't seem to be too much talk of anything kind of concrete. So what's your thoughts? Do you think they will?
I think they will get something done. I don't know what it is. I think they'll surprise. So I think they'll either get a loan or some surprising bid out of nowhere. But I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. To be honest, they're talking about signing an 18-year-old Norwegian guy that'll come into the first team for 10 million. Naipan, his name is, just something like that.
Naipan,
so he's coming from he's coming from Rosenborg. So he'll be another body in midfield. But in regards to the forward line, Alex Crook from Talksport was on about Evan Ferguson on loan, but Arsenal can't get any more loanees with Neto and Sterling from the Premier League. It would be an interesting one though, isn't it, to see imagine if Ferguson went to Arsenal. Don't know if he would be is he at that level at the moment, but it would be very cool to see from an Irish perspective. Playing up front for Arsenal, it would be just even for a 6-month loan, to see what he's like.
It'd be interesting. So I was going to ask you that because it's one that's circulating now. We knew before the window that the talk was he was going to get a loan move due to his injuries. The momentum has kind of gone out of him a bit with all the injuries he's had, and then with form of Welbeck and João Pedro. So the clubs that have been linked with him there today, looking at it again, is the ones that it's a no-brainer for some of them because they need a striker. So Solanke's out for a while. Spurs have been linked with him. West Ham are in desperate need of a forward player. It doesn't look like the Duran one is going to happen. So and Bournemouth was the other one with their injury. So there's a couple of big clubs that are in looking at him, and the look to things in particular, he will get game time. If he does get a move. For me, I'd like to see with West Ham. I think West Ham would be a nice one for him to be at personally, but he does need to get a move. Yeah. So where do you think he'll end up, lads?
I'd say I could see West Ham going in for him, to be honest. With Antonio gone, I think he needs to move down. I think he needs to go somewhere. He can't just keep sitting on the bench and then and then when he needs to be called upon is injured. He needs to have a run of games. So not sure where he'll go, but I'd say somewhere in Premier League that needs a striker. I say West Ham. I heard talking about it, so you could see it being a bit of a fit there, but I don't know. It's hard to know.
There's also strong championship links to him as well. I think the championship would be ideal for him to get a run of games, a bit of form, banging a few goals, build up a bit of confidence. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a step down to the Championship.
Yeah, what do you call your man is doing well over in Holland? Troy Parrott, isn't he?
Yeah, they
Is he doing
came
it? Is it
Alkmaar.
Alkmaar? Is it?
And Alkmaar, yeah, no, it's just it is interesting though. Like it's like that, just needing to get the right move if it works out for him, and can get back to that level. Because we were talking here, I think there was clubs linked with him. Chelsea were one anyway. There was a couple of others, and we were talking quite big money for an Irish player in particular. I thought that he may go for given what he had done and was breaking records and everything, but. It's just that momentum seems of nobody's talking about him now. So as you said there, Mossy, maybe a move to the championship might be the right one. Okay, we're going to keep things. Is anyone and that's what's in the transfer window before we move on?
No, nothing for me. No.
No, I don't
Anything
think Liverpool are going to
Liverpool
do
end?
anything. I don't think so. No, there was a guy from Ajax, a defender, that was at the game, believe it or not, against Ipswich.
Potato.
Yeah. So I think the link is that he was at the game. That's the link. I don't know why he was there, whether maybe he's friends with Slot or Gravenberg, who knows? But
Yeah.
he was at the game anyway. So I don't know. We do need, there's been talk about us getting another defender possibly in January. But I don't know. It's been very quiet on the Liverpool front, and it's hard to know. What do you is there much? Where would you go? I think something for Gravenberg would have been the one if you're asking me, because I think he's played pretty much nearly every single game and been unbelievable, mind you. But just if he was to get injured, there's a massive hole left there by not having somebody else to come into it. So it'll be interesting to see. Okay, we're gonna move on to Super Six. It would be good. I think just to finish on that. Like, it would be good if there was a bit of madness in the last day or two, because we don't get that anymore, really, do we? In the last day or two.
Yeah, I think you look at the amount of money that's spent in January already. It's like 170 million or something, and 130 million is spent by the City. Like, so
Yeah.
it's crazy that like all the other clubs are like struggling to do any business in January, and you're paying over the odds. So I'd love, you'd love to see an old flurry at the end. And what I think it's the 2nd of February, I think is the closing date. So
Yeah, it's a few days left. Okay, we're going to go move on to Super Six. It's got very tight at the top. Darren Mitchell is 1 point off top spot behind my brother Richard, and we've Damien McDermott there on 290. He's only a few points off. So it's and midweek Champions League games are up again this week. I don't know about G, but it's just seems to be, as much as it's a lottery anyway, but there's been some mad results in this, like the Benfica Barcelona one, for example, there at 5-4 last week. So we're into the final week of fixtures. No doubt there's going to be some madness here. There's a couple of dead rubbers, and then there's a few that there's so much on the line. So, Mas, I'm going to give you the first three here. So we've PSV and Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool.
Okay. Do you fancy he goes full strength? I was reading a thing there about the money. There's quite a lot of money for each win in these, because he's played a strong team in like every game. It's 2 million for a win, and then you get a bit more if you win it outright. You get a bit more as well. So
I just see if solidify it. Like, even like PSV are a solid team, but I think an understrength Liverpool should still have enough to win convincingly
enough. Celtic.
Hard game to call. Celtic have an excellent form in Champions League and then obviously in Scotland, but and Villa have been a bit off it. So the fact that they're away, I would lean towards maybe Villa nicking it 2-1 or 1-0.
Okay, and Girona Arsenal.
Girona have been very poor in competition after having a successful season last year, losing a lot of their 3 or 4 key players. So you kind of fancy Arsenal to have a good 3-1 kind of away win.
Okay, and Howard City Club Brugge. I was reading a stat there about Bruges. They're flying in their results. I think it's really quite good. Could they do the unthinkable against Man City, or what do you think?
Like, we were all watching the game last week against PSG, which was a cracking game, by the way. And we were thinking, City lose this, but just the way the results fell in all the other games, that they're very much in with a shout, City, if they beat Bruges. I think they're pretty much true. One other thing to note is that all the games are actually played on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So they're all in one hit, which is unusual.
It's gonna be madness.
It'll be a bit of flurry madness. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with a 1-0 City win, just getting over the line.
Okay. Could be a nervy one if Bruges.
Could be nervy.
Bruges get the first goal, wouldn't it?
It'd be exciting. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Barcelona Atlanta. That should be an entertaining enough game, I would have thought.
Yeah, I put up a 3-2 Barca. Like, Barca have been scoring goals for fun, but to concede them, Like if you look at all their games, like they're conceding like two or three goals a game, but they're scoring four. Like so, I'll go for 3-2 there.
Okay, and Brest versus Real Madrid.
Oh, Brest versus Real Madrid. That's going to be a belter, isn't it? That's on the west coast of France, is it?
Yeah, Brest can't even play in their own home stadium because it's too small.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'll go. And Madrid, or what's the story of Madrid? Are they fully through and everything?
Yeah,
They're okay now, I think.
Mbappe's banging in goals the last 3 or 4 games.
He's got it
Yeah,
going.
I'll go 2-0 Madrid.
Okay, so that is Super Six. Remember that there is a £100 up for grabs for anyone that's in our league for the winner of the Super Six. But like looking at it, there's still another 4 or 5 months. It's going to be a war of attrition between the midweek, and then we're going to have the knockout stages. I'm sure around of the knockouts in the or the qualification round to get into the knockouts. There'll probably be a Super Six round for that too. So we have a long way to go in that. So that is Super Six, and finally fantasy football, gentlemen. Let me see now. Let's get the league table up here. Yeah, Aidan O'D, I would have mentioned here a couple of weeks ago that he had passed me out, and I was getting a lot of abusive messages. I hadn't heard from the man in a long time, but I was getting a lot of messages. So he's now, I've overtaken him, never messaged him or anything like that. Showed a bit of touch of class, but he's 3 points behind me again and had a monstrous week. He got 84 points, which is a cracking week considering. He had Cody Gappo, who ran right. A lot of people transferred him in. Did he transfer him in?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people got him in. Yeah.
A lot of people got him in, and it worked out. And he had Semenyo and Mbueno as well. So he had 84 is a strong return. He's now 3 points off. My lead is dwindling week in, week out. I've had another just standard week, 56 points. It's probably been me for the month of January, just average, nothing crazy, nothing terrible, but there's lads there. Padre Clark as well as another one he's what 9 points off top spot, and my brother as well is creeping up there. I don't know if you noticed that. Who won it last year has been creeping, and he's up to fourth now. After a poor start, so it can all change. I'm looking down here, lads. Where are we? Howard, anything you want to say about your team?
No.
No, not a great week. Well, no, yeah. I think the Gakpo thing. I saw a lot of people putting him in. I was tempted, but I held off, which was a bad mistake. And I have Isaac. I was tempted with him. I had him captain for the game before this. I changed it back over to Salah, but that was again. Look, Salah did well enough, but if I kept him captain, I might have reaped the benefits. Yeah, so
an extra 10 points. You have a few on the bench there as well.
Yeah, a few on the bench. Oh look.
And Mossy, you're still on the front page, Moss.
I'm still doing shit, lads. Just leave it alone. It's fucking going terrible.
Yeah, Foden again though. Yeah, he's a differential, but I'm looking here now. You could do with getting a. Yeah, I had Mateta as well. I stuck him.
I was on a bit of run. He had 3 or 4 games in a row. I was like, look, I'll take a gamble, and it didn't work. I had to get rid of Jackson because he's been so poor. So
I done the same. You did the same transfer to me. Yeah, Jackson had to go, but Mateta there wasn't a whole lot. And I watched that match, and he had one chance. I think it was a hard watch that game. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're moving into double game week for Liverpool. So that's coming up this week. Bournemouth and Everton away. So it'd be interesting to see a lot of people are going to travel up Liverpool. Will they triple captain Salah with the 2 games that are coming up? It'd be interesting to see if people do, or will they hold out? But yeah, again for the winner.
What are you doing, Dan?
What am I doing?
What are you going to do?
I defend the triple. Well, I have 3 Liverpool players, so I have a Liverpool triple up anyway. But the triple captain on Salah is an interesting one. When you look at that, he'd be caught up against Kirkes, who has been phenomenal so far this season, and then Everton just being Everton under Moyes is a kind of concerning as well as to will he be able to do the damage? And Salah's level hasn't at the level he was pre-Christmas either, by the way. So it's not as tempting as it would have been if you had said it to me maybe back in early December, maybe middle of December. But will there be another Liverpool double game week? There may be at another point, but yeah, it's an interesting one. A lot of people have played their tip already, I think, on Haaland earlier in the season. A lot of people went, was it Haaland really at home to Ipswich or something, and Haaland banged in a few. A lot of people have used their triple captainship already. So yeah, not sure on the triple captain one, but I think you know, a lot of people will be travelling up there on Liverpool. And that's why a lot of people got that go in was with that game and with that double game week coming up in mind as well. So a few shrewdies out there got him in. So anyway, a reminder to everyone that our fantasy football winner will get a jersey of your choice, sponsored by our one and only Declan O'Connor, who's looking for a few bob at the moment. So you know, you might be waiting a while for that jersey. How things
It'd be
go.
good wrapped in insulation, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, or be bought on what is it, Wish or something, you know. Yeah. Anyway, that is another week of FFP, Football Fanatic Podcast. Thanks to everyone who's listened to us. Please do subscribe to our YouTube and follow us on our social media channels. Gentlemen, is there anything else before we finish up?
All good for me, Dan.
Perfect. Okay, so we will chat to you same time, same place next week. And yeah, Beck, we're thinking of you, and we'll see what we can find in the piggy bank for you. All right, good luck.
Yeah.
Look, guys.